All right, guys, we are going to start math this year with a very easy topic. It is lesson 1 and it is ratios. So we need to make sure that everybody has their math book. If you do not have your math book, just maybe write down a couple of different things just to help you remember so that way you are prepared for math class. So our first section here, we're only going to go through the first 2 pages of this. Then we'll go through all 8 pages throughout the week. All right? So you already know that a fraction is a way to compare a part to a whole. So let's take a look at this problem here. Carlos has 4 tennis balls and 5 baseballs. So he's got 4 tennis balls and 5 baseballs. How can you compare the number of each type of ball to the total number of balls? And how can you compare the number of one type of ball to the number of the other type? So use the math that you already know to solve these problems. And it's asking for a fraction here. So what fraction of the balls are tennis balls? So I know that I have 4 tennis balls. And I know that 4 plus 5 gives me 9. So the 4 represents the tennis balls. And the 9 represents the total number of balls in this problem. All right? The second question says, what fraction of the balls are baseballs? Again, I know that I have 5 baseballs out of 9 total. So the 5 represented the baseballs and the 9 represented the total number of balls. All right, so then it also says you can compare 2 quantities with words. You can write the numerical comparison of 4 tennis balls to 9 tennis balls as simply as the 4 to 9. So write a comparison of the number of baseballs to the number of total balls using that word to. So the number of baseballs I have is 5, and I'm going to be using that fancy word to, and the total balls is 9. So my ratio there is 5 to 9. For letter D, it says you can also use a colon to separate quantities. When you compare numbers, use this notation to compare the number of each type of ball to the total. So now it wants us to do each type of Carlos's balls to the total number of balls. So Carlos has 4 tennis balls. I'm going to insert that colon. The 9 represents the total number of balls. Then he also has 5 baseballs, using that colon, to 9 total. So the question I have for you now is, how does each of these notations, 4 to 9, 4 to 9, and 4 colon 9, compare the number of tennis balls to the total number of balls? So basically what we can say is something very simple. There are 4 tennis balls to 9 total balls. It's very important to remember that whenever we've got a word problem like this, okay, that we answer it in kind of a word sentence or a word answer, okay? So that was page number 1. We are moving on to page number 2 now. Oh my gosh, look at this. Now we've got a definition. A ratio is a way to compare 2 different quantities. All right, so there's 2 different ways that you can do this. Sometimes you can compare the 2 parts. So the 4 tennis balls to the 5 baseballs, or the 5 baseballs to the 4 tennis balls. Other times you compare the part to the whole. So this was where we were on last page. There's 4 tennis balls to 9 balls, 5 baseballs to 9 balls. So that is the part to the whole. Remember, there are 3 ways that you can write those ratios. You can use the word to, you can use a colon, or you can use a fraction bar. The expressions 4 to 5, 4:5, and 4/5 all represent the ratio of 4 compared to 5. So in this scenario, there are many ways to compare the total number of balls. If you want to start here, we've got part to part. There are 2 separate things that we're comparing here. We're comparing tennis balls to baseballs. Now, the order in which it is said, so tennis being first, baseballs being second, is extremely vital to the ratio. You can see that the 4 is first, followed by the 5. Okay? So 4 tennis balls to 5 baseballs. The same is if you want to do it in reverse. Baseballs would be first to tennis balls. So again, that 5 would be then first, and then the 4 would be second if you're comparing it that way. Second set is the part to whole, which is exactly what we did on page number 1. Tennis balls to total number of balls. Tennis balls being first, total balls being second. The number of tennis balls is 4. The number of total balls is 9. You can also do that with the baseballs. So baseballs to total balls, 5 to 9. Very simple there. Finally, we have whole to part. Now this one is not really something that we're going to be using a whole lot this year, but it is something that we need to mention. So in these ratios, they are comparing total balls to just the tennis balls. So the total balls would be first, and then the tennis balls would be second. And they also did it total balls to baseballs, where the total balls would be first, the baseballs would be second. You can also use the phrases for each or for every to describe ratios. So for example, there are 4 tennis balls for every 5 baseballs, or 4 tennis balls for each set of 5 baseballs. These 2 phrases, for each and for every, are not something that we are going to be seeing too much this year, but it is important for us to know that that is another way to say it. Our reflection question before we are done with this page simply says, suppose Carlos was given a basketball. What is the ratio of tennis balls to baseballs? Okay, so this first set is very simple. So Carlos was given a basketball. That is 1. A basketball is singular. What is the ratio of tennis balls to baseballs? Well, we know that there are 4 tennis balls to 5 baseballs. I just wrote it with that colon. Then the second part says, what is the ratio of total balls to tennis balls? And now we have to include that basketball. So originally we had 9, and now we've got 1 extra, which is 10 to 4. Total balls to tennis balls. So compare the ratios before Carlos got the basketball and after he got it. How did the basketball affect those ratios? So prior to this situation, he had 4 tennis balls and 5 baseballs. So that made a total of 9 total balls. Then he added a basketball. So if we add the 4 tennis balls, the 5 baseballs, and now that 1 basketball, That brings our total to 10 total balls. So, I mean, how did that change the ratio? Did it? Yes, it did. Whenever you add something to a ratio, it's definitely going to change it. Did it make it 10 times worse? No, not really. It made it one number different. So it's not too bad. Make sure you have all of this written in your notebook and come back for day 2.